A&E's Storage Wars sold you one lie for 16 seasons. This cast is a family. They sold it harder than most reality shows dare to. 16 seasons of grown men in trucker hats calling each other brother, partner, best friend, right up until the cameras stopped rolling and everybody found out exactly what that word was worth. Spoiler, not much. And A&E's legal department will happily explain why in writing. Here's what nobody mentions when a show about buying other people's garbage turns into a $100 million franchise. The people inside—
Yeah, those bales around 4,000 pounds each bale.
Ooh, I believe it. Woo!
it don't get protected by the format, they get fed to it. One of them sued the network for fraud and got handed a six-figure legal bill as a thank you note. One of them got out early on his own terms and still spent years getting pulled back in and out of the show's orbit like he never actually left. And two of them spent a decade being sold to America as a couple, right up until a domestic violence charge did in one bar fight in Orange County, California. What 16 seasons of storage locker bidding—
Ah! That looks like it works to me. It's working. Let's grind something. I want to grind. Well, before that, let me check—
never managed. It ended them permanently, on camera and off. And the network moved on to the next episode like nothing had happened at all. Same show, same battered pickup trucks, same cardboard boxes stuffed with dead strangers' junk. Three completely different ways of finding out what the show actually owed you, which it turns out was nothing.
Well, the Peterson Museum is one of the preeminent car museums in the country.
This isn't a story about one unlucky guy having a bad season. This is what a family looks like when the family is also a product line. Let's open the lockers nobody at A&E wanted opened. Reality TV has a formula, and it's not the one they put in the opening credits. Networks don't cast people because they're interesting. They cast them because they're exploitable. And somewhere in a conference room at A&E, somebody genuinely gets paid to know the difference.
Absolutely.
All right. Dick thought we paid a lot of money for this thing, but when I told him we only paid $850.
Here's the part production never puts in the trailer. The second you sign, you stop being a person with a job and become a character with a function. And God help you if you're good at it. Dave Hester's function was the villain. Barry Weiss's function was the rich guy who doesn't need the money and wants you to know it. Brandi and Jarrod's function wasn't even individual. It was the couple. One single product built out of two human beings, which is a genuinely strange thing to sell to advertisers when you think about it for more than 4 seconds. And standing at the front of every single episode, calling bids and moving the whole machine forward were auctioneers Dan Dotson and Laura Dotson, the functional engine the show literally couldn't run without, and the people whose names even devoted fans sometimes forget to say out loud.
Good eye, Barry. Good eye.
Doesn't matter if it's early morning or late at night. I will always show up.
Three Storage Wars stars walked into this arrangement without reading the fine print. Because who reads the fine print when there's a camera crew telling you you're about to be famous? One of them tried to fight it in open court and got billed 6 figures for the attempt. One of them saw it coming, got out early, and still couldn't fully escape it. And 2 of them found out that being sold to America as a package deal doesn't come with a refund policy when the relationship ends. Let's start with the guy who looked the whole thing dead in the eye, called it fraud, and lost anyway. Start the clock with Dave Hester, because Dave Hester is the control group for this entire experiment. Loud, aggressive, catchphrase having Dave Hester, the guy who made Yoop.
What's up, squirrels?
There go that sun.
Oof.
How you doing, sunshine?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm all right.
Into a t-shirt so successful that rapper Trey Songz actually sued him over who owned the word yup. Let that sink in for a second. Grown adults in federal court arguing over a word that means yes. Hester played the villain role perfectly for 3 seasons. Then between season 3 and 4, he did the one thing production never plans for. He read his own contract and got angry about what it actually meant. He filed a lawsuit claiming Original Productions was salting the lockers, planting valuable items before the cameras rolled, including, and this is a real claim from a real legal filing, a stack of newspapers announcing Elvis Presley's death and a literal miniature BMW buried under a pile of garbage. He also alleged, though this one stayed unconfirmed and deserves that asterisk, that at least one female cast member had cosmetic surgery paid for by production to look better on camera. Nobody ever named names. Nobody had to.
Just scrap metal. So what is this thing, Danny?
This is a steer wheel. Very good steer wheel, actually.
A&E's response was to fire him, then spend years in court arguing that Storage Wars was protected by the First Amendment, as though rigging a fucking treasure hunt for basic cable counts is protected speech. The network's lawyers specifically invoked the Communications Act of 1934.
You ready?
I mean,
Spend a lot of money, don't break anything.
Yeah, it better be cool.
The federal statute originally amended in the wake of the 1950s quiz show scandals, when it became illegal to rig televised competitions without disclosure, arguing essentially that reality TV exists in a gray zone the law never fully closed. A judge eventually let Hester's wrongful termination claim proceed.
Oh, it's swans.
Yep.
Which sounds like a win, except the same judge also ordered Hester to personally pay A&E $122,692 in legal fees along the way. He sued for $750,000, and the network billed him 6 figures just for showing up to fight. And it wasn't just the lawyers Hester was fighting. The tension had been building on set for years, and it spilled over publicly in 2015 when Hester and auctioneer Laura Dotson got into a documented physical confrontation, a moment that made clear the behind-the-scenes friction extended well beyond the bidding floor and into the people whose job it was to run the auction itself. Now, the contrast case. Barry Weiss, who watched years of this kind of grinding conflict play out around him and did something almost nobody in reality TV manages.
I'm stoked. That locker was just the haul I needed. But spending time with my little boy...
He left on his own terms. At the peak, no lawsuit, no scandal, telling the press he was going back to being a world-class slacker.
I just spent $5,550. Put my entire life savings in.
For a while, it looked like proof that you actually could walk away clean. It wasn't. A&E handed him 2 spin-offs, Buried Treasure and Storage Wars. Barry Strikes Back, both canceled fast enough to suggest the audience only ever wanted him inside the original show. Then in 2019, Weiss survived a motorcycle collision that left him with chest trauma, broken bones, internal injuries, 2 months in intensive care, and multiple surgeries on his back and femur. A genuinely serious, unrelated tragedy that had nothing to do with Storage Wars at all. And yet the show pulled him back anyway, in 2021 and again in 2023. Like his own timeline was just another storyline the franchise was entitled to reuse. Whether he's part of the current season is honestly unclear. Reports on his current cast status don't agree with each other.
Antique stuff here, boy. Antique lamps. Look like something that was in that movie with,
Which might be the most accurate summary of his whole post-show career. Even the show itself doesn't seem to know if he's in or out. Then there's Brandi and Jarrod. The young guns, the couple, America watched bicker over storage lockers for a decade out of their shop in Orange County, California, never quite realizing the bickering was doing double duty as both entertainment and an actual relationship straining in real time on basic cable. They were never even legally married, which didn't stop A&E from selling them as a domestic unit for 10 straight years. Along the way, Brandi had to sue a man named Hunter Moore, at the time nicknamed the most hated man on the internet, for posting a fabricated pornographic video under her name. She won. The damages, $750, not $1,000, not million. 750 American dollars for having her identity stolen and turned into revenge porn bait.
Unfortunately, this machine is not worth too much money.
The relationship itself quietly ended in 2018 and stayed hidden from the public for almost 2 years. It finally became public in the worst possible way in May 2021 in an Orange County bar when Jarrod allegedly shoved Brandi during an argument in front of witnesses. Police were called. Jarrod had already left by the time they arrived. Days later, he was charged with misdemeanor domestic violence battery. He denied putting his hands on her. He also never appeared on Storage Wars again, and A&E never publicly explained whether that was his choice or theirs. Here's the question that actually matters. Why does this keep happening, show after show, to people who all watched it happen to someone before them and signed up anyway? Because the incentive structure was never built to warn anybody. Networks don't run aftercare programs. There's no exit interview where somebody from HR sits you down and says, hey, once the cameras stop, your character stops too. And you should probably talk to someone about that. There's a wrap party, a final paycheck, and silence.
Hey, it even almost runs. This is a nice original machine.
Tom Beers and Original Productions spent over a decade building a business around ordinary people's willingness to perform a heightened version of themselves for a national audience. And very little of that business ever went toward what happens once the performance ends and the person underneath has to live in what's left. Dave Hester's mistake, if you can call telling the truth a mistake, was assuming the show owed him honesty because he'd been loyal to it. It didn't. Contracts run on leverage, not loyalty, and the moment he threatened the brand, its lawyers treated him like any other liability. Expensive, but manageable. Barry Weiss's mistake was assuming that leaving early meant leaving completely. It didn't. You can walk away from the cameras, but a hit franchise can still summon you back whenever it needs a nostalgia beat.
With some risotto. This might actually work. I know Kenny's hungry, so.
And there's very little a world-class slacker can do about that once the offer's on the table. And Brandi and Jarrod's situation, honestly, might not even be a mistake so much as a predictable outcome of what happens when a network sells your relationship as content for 10 years and never once plans for what happens if the relationship doesn't survive the cameras. The real problem in all 3 case files isn't Dave Hester's temper or Barry Weiss's motorcycle or whatever happened in that Orange County bar. It's a business built around treating people's real lives as usable material, with no real plan for what happens to them once the material runs out. Nobody warned them, because warning them was never profitable, and profit doesn't give a damn who it breaks on the way there. So here's where things actually land, 3 case files later. Dave Hester is back on Storage Wars in season 16, older, apparently healthier after a stroke that nearly ended him for real, still auctioneering alongside Dan and Laura Dotson, still getting paid to be loud, having settled his war with the network just enough to walk back through the same door that fired him. Barry Weiss became the rare guy who could leave, return, disappear, and still have the show treat his absence like a scheduling detail instead of a human being making an actual choice about his own life.
Look at this unit, we're gonna sell it outside.
I saw over $1,000 worth of reels in there.
And Brandi Passante is still in the cast, still bidding, raising 2 teenagers mostly on her own, while Jarrod Schulz hasn't posted publicly in years and hasn't been let anywhere near a camera since a police report with his name on it. Same show, same trucks, same cardboard boxes of somebody else's forgotten junk. 3 people who signed the same kind of contract, played 3 different roles, and paid 3 completely different prices for the privilege of being famous for finding other people's stuff. And here's the part that should actually stick with you. Storage Wars is still airing. Season 17 premiered in February 2026 on the same network, same format.
Pamela Brand to tell me more about this tea set. And of course, I dress for the occasion.
Still with Tom Beers producing, presumably filling in wherever the last round of cast members finally hit their limit. The show doesn't need any specific person to keep going. It just needs the next guy willing to sign.